Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today. It's Ali Coram Shreve here with a breakdown of the action in today's session, where we saw losses for the major indexes and a not so great close, Ken. But as always, you have three stocks for us to take a look at.
Yes, indeed. We've got a couple of bottoming bases to take a look at here. The first will be Ceridian HCM, that's ticker CDAY. And the other one is Shift4 Payments, a payment processor. Ticker there is FOUR. And finally, we'll take a look at a big supplier to the chip EV market, Onsemi, ticker ON.
All right, we'll take a look at those three stocks, but first let's analyze the major indexes. The Nasdaq today closing down 1.1%. We had the S&P 500 down 0.9%. The Dow down 0.6%. And into the close, looks like the Russell 2000 was on pace for a decline of 0.7% here. Intraday, it looked like, we were going to be bucking the weakness, but all in all, we did come off a bit here, but what can we expect after really strong gains towards the end of the week last week?
Yeah, great point. Big gains Thursday, big gains Friday, you can see for the NASDAQ, and some pretty heavy volume. So not surprising to see volume kind of slow down the pace today. Looks like we're going to come in well below what we saw Friday. But yeah, during the final hour of trading, and maybe even a little more intense during the final half hour, we had sellers come into the market. Not much volume, like I said, but after two really big gains, like you said, Ali. Today's declines, not too surprising to see. But again, it was kind of a mixed and mostly unchanged session for a good part of the day, and then kind of fell apart here into the close. But we're still in a confirmed uptrend. That's the good news.
Yeah, and the Nasdaq is above its 50-day line. Looks like it's trying to hold above these marked highs here, just above 11,200, closing the day at 11,196. Just for people's awareness there. Let's also take a look at the S&P 500. Not seeing there it goes. It just took a second to pop up there. Still holding well above its 50-day line at this point, Ken. Next stop on the upside seems like the 4,000 mark, and it's also still holding above its highs from late October, early November, in a line that we can extend all the way back that dates back to this spring. So we've got 4,000, and then we've still got that 200-day or 40-week line to contend with.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a bad thing at all to see the S&P 500 kind of consolidate below the 4,000 level. You can see back on the daily chart, it kind of bumped up against it today before getting turned away. So maybe we consolidate below the 4,000 level. We get a period of sideways movement that could eventually pave the way for a breakout try over 4,000, and even more importantly, that 200-day moving average. So again, things are looking fine here. It's a very pivotal week of we've got a lot of retail earnings, and we've got a monthly retail sales report that's due in terms of economic data, and then tomorrow we've got a pretty key reading on inflation with the latest producer price index, and that's a reading on wholesale inflation that'll be out Tuesday morning, 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. So that could be a market mover.
Yeah, we also want to briefly check in on the Dow and Russell 2000. The Dow here, like I said, did close down about 0.6% today, but it's getting close to that 34,000 mark. It's above its 40-week line after getting above that level last week. So we'll have to see how it acts at this round number at 34,000. Also, IWM, which tracks the Russell 2000, right at its 40-week line, so some potential resistance there. And next, let's take a look at the 10-year Treasury yield. A big move lower last week, which, as we've seen, equities and the 10-year yield moving in opposite directions. No surprise to see big market gains last week, coinciding with a big drop in the 10-year yield.
Yeah, and this price chart of the 10-year yield you can see is just making right now a key test of that 50-day moving average. So you had a huge drop Thursday. The bond market was closed on Friday, but bond yields completely fell apart when we got that fairly tame, cool, whatever you want to call it, reading on consumer inflation last week on Thursday. So again, wholesale inflation due tomorrow, so we'll be watching that closely. But the 10-year yield holding a key support level right now, and we'll see if it holds.
Let's also take a look at the dollar. Here's UUP up a smidge today, but after some pretty notable declines last week, and we're continuing to look at the correlation or the inverse correlation between what we're seeing here with not only the 10-year yield and the broad market, but also the dollar.
Yeah, the market does not like spiking interest rates. It also does not like a spiking U.S. dollar. So the dollar just recently made a test of the 50-day moving average. It looked like it was going to find support when UUP moved above that 30 level, but support again gave way, especially after that tame reading on inflation last week. So market wants to see that 10-year yield below 4%. It also wants to see that dollar stay below the 50-day and 10-week moving average.
All right. Well, a chip stock standout right now is Onsemi, ticker ON, but it did reverse lower today, along with the market not a great close by Onsemi, but it did try to break out above this 76 area. It is already above an early entry that it cleared with flying colors last weekend. So, since we've been focusing so much in 2022 on those early entries, because we've been seeing a little bit of turbulence for a lot of stocks around traditional buy points, seems like it would actually be okay to see this stock take a little bit of a rest here to tighten up before moving higher again.
Yeah, and congratulations to people that bought on Thursday when it actually gapped up over the 70 level and broke out over that trend line as you can see. So those that bought pretty close to that 70 level still sitting pretty good here. But again, this is a stock that has moved up quickly. After going below 60, it's just several sessions. It has moved nicely higher. So we could right now see what we like to see when a stock forms the right side of a consolidation quickly, see that handle area form where the last remaining sellers get shaken out and possibly pave the way for an upside breakout here. Onsemi is a major supplier of chips to the electric vehicle space. It's a little more than a third of their total revenue, so company appears well positioned for growth.
Yeah. And an RS line blue dot, we like to see it. So maybe we'll see the stock form a high handle here at this point. And next, as promised, two bottoming bases for your radar. The first with C-Day Ceridian HCM, an enterprise software name with a big upside reversal last week, adding on to the gains today, up 2.8% to kick off the week. What do you think, Ken? Is this arguably actionable here, or what would you like to see from the stock?
No, I think it looks good. 3 up days in a row in heavy volume. Remember how you had a market sell-off today during the final half hour of trading, but C-Day held on to a good gain today. So I think the stock looks good right here. HCM and the company name stands for Human Capital Management. So this is one of these enterprise software stocks that handles payroll, human resources. There's a whole bunch of companies that are in this field, but C-Day is one of the better ones. You can tell. You can see earnings in its latest quarter up 100%. Revenue growth accelerated from 20% up to 23%. So this one looks good, and certainly don't feel like you're chasing a stock here as it forms a base still far off its high, right near the top of this bottoming base. So I think it looks good right here.
Okay, and let's also check back in on FOUR, Shift4 Payments, a bottoming base we've been tracking. It's trying to clear a trend line within its base. Looks like maybe it's still hitting a little bit of resistance, but no doubt that we're seeing some strong volume coming into this stock.
Yeah, and one thing I didn't mention with C-Day that we just looked at, I mean, both of these charts look very, very similar, but C-Day has got great annual earnings estimates. So these two stocks are in completely different fields, but very alike in some ways. So you can see those big annual earnings estimates for Ceridian, and then we switch back over to 4 and see also big annual earnings estimates, and in a very similar technical setup here. So you can see FOUR broke above its 200-day moving average on Friday. It extended gains a little bit today. So this one looks pretty ripe as well. And look at all that up volume during the past 4 or 5 days. There do seem to be some big buyers in this stock recently, which is good to see when you're in a confirmed uptrend and stock could be on the verge of an upside breakout.
Yeah, and something else to just quickly discuss before we wrap with the audience that we talked about this morning on IBD Live, and that is the sector rotation that we saw last week. And of course, a lot of bottom fishing, things coming off from the bottom, but it did seem like there was a shift from the more defensive mindset into risk on. But will that last? That's going to be the $1 million question at this point.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, there was some pretty intense selling and a lot of managed care firms, a lot of biotechs last week. You know, we talked about the really harsh declines in institutional quality names like Eli Lilly and Vertex, even though Vertex did close off its lows. But a lot of selling in the healthcare space. So if this is a sector rotation, that's good, because you want to see new leadership in the early stages of an uptrend. The issue right now is that the leadership is taking a little time to take shape. So while we're in a confirmed uptrend, and while we believe that the market tide is flowing positive, even with indexes, or at least the S&P 500 and Nasdaq still below their 200-day lines, it is a good environment to be buying stocks. But you don't want to rush it. Like I said this morning on IBD Live, if you're only 30 or 40% invested, you don't need to feel like you need to get 75, 80, 90% just by buying stocks haphazardly. You want to let the market give you the best setups. We're still a little sparse, so it's okay being patient, though, because if this rally is going to have legs, we should see the setups follow.
Well, thank you, Ken, for that analysis and all of your insights. And thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We'll, of course, be back with more tomorrow morning on IBD Live. So join us. Get your questions in. We love interacting with you all over at investors.com/IBD Live. We'll see you there in the morning, where we've got David Ryan, 3-time U.S. investing champion and protege of IBD founder Bill O'Neill, on the Tuesday panel. So we'll see you there, and we'll also see you right back here tomorrow after the close.